friends, and welcome back for another Brutus Monroe video. Today I'm going to be making a hero card, and let me show you before we get into any of that the products that we're going to be using today. We're going to be using this cover plate die. This is called the stained glass die. We're also going to be using one of my favorite sentiment sets called Super Sentimental. I love it. I love all the different fonts in there as well. And then we're going to be using some foundation cutting dies. We're using the rectangle, and I also pull in the circle. And then we're also going to be using some blue Glitterstock. Love this stuff, so pretty. All right, so I'm going to run this through my die cutting machine, the Glitterstock with the cutting plate, and it does a beautiful job cutting it. I'm just going to hold it in place with a little bit of purple tape, and I'm going to run this through my Gemini die cutting machine. So let me talk a little bit about the hero card that we're going to be making. So we were asked to make a hero card, and I basically classify anyone who serves others selflessly as a hero, especially if there is a potential for fear involved. And if I don't think I could do it, it's definitely heroic. Like nurses, doctors, first responders, police, military. And so because I know a few in all those categories, but mostly military because we're a military family, I am obviously going to go ahead and focus on that military side there. My son, I'm actually going to make this card for my son. So we had the privilege of getting to promote him before all this craziness happened. We got to head down to where he's at, and we got to watch him get promoted, and it was just a beautiful thing. And you know, he has always said that the reason he wanted to serve was because, you know, his dad's in the military, and the military has afforded him to have a really beautiful life in the sense that he's gotten to meet so many different people, meet people from different cultures, different places, just all over the, you know, even the world, actually. Even though we've never been stationed overseas, we've met a lot of people from different countries as well. And that's just been such a blessing. And I know that he had just said that he wanted to serve the country that gave him so much, and just a little bit. He feels like it's nothing. You know, he's only very new into his contract, but you know, he just doesn't feel like he's done much yet. And so I'm making this for him because I think about all that is asked of them and what is required of them. And especially during this time right now, they're still going to work. They are still training. They are just putting on masks and heading out and getting their vehicles ready and prepping and going to the ranges and doing all those things. The only thing that got canceled was doing their National Training Center, but that'll just got postponed because, you know, they are still set to probably deploy. And so with all that out there, you know, I think that stuff is fairly heroic, and I'm super, super proud of him. All right, so let's go ahead and get back to the card. All right, what I had done with the rectangles dies is that I had lined two of them up to make a frame, and then I ran that through my die cutting machine over some red cardstock about 8 times so that I could stack those frames up. It's completely unnecessary. You wouldn't have to do this. You could just use fun foam or foam tape underneath if you really wanted to, if you wanted it to have dimension, or you could totally skip that and just do one frame if you wanted. But I really wanted it to stand out, and I wanted the I wanted my Glitterstock to look like it's kind of recessed in the back, almost like some stained glass. And so that is where I took it. So here we have 8 of them all stacked up. And then I'm going to move on to getting what I'm going to call my stained glass ready. There's a couple different ways you could do stained glass. I know the team has done some other cool things with it, but I've just got a piece of white cardstock here. I am going to take my embossing ink and go over that, the entire panel that I have. I'm just going to go over that entire panel, and then I'm going to cover that with some Icicle embossing powder, which is just a clear embossing powder. You could add some glitter to it if you wanted. Like you could use the rainbow embossing powder if you wanted. There's all kinds of options here, but I just chose the Icicle. And then I'm going to heat set that till that is smooth and melted. So going back to my son a little bit, the reason that I just find it so heroic, honestly, that he joined is that, you know, he grew up obviously as a military kid, and I know that can't be an easy life. I was not a military kid. I stayed put my entire childhood all the way up until my husband married me and moved me off. But, you know, all he's ever known really is moving and leaving friends behind, and having his dad deploy, you know, 5 different times. And I know that can't be easy. He was you know, he didn't volunteer to do this. He didn't sign up to do it, but he had to endure it. And I know that made him the person, the man that he is today. I know that that obviously shaped who he is, but I know that it wasn't easy because I remember all the different stages. And so I do find our military kids to be pretty heroic too. They are asked to do a lot and endure a lot, and they make it happen. You know, moms or dads leaving for training or deploying and then coming home, and schedules changing, and then there is the constant moving. So they've had to say goodbye. All these military kids have to say goodbye to friends on a regular basis. And so for that, they are my heroes. All right, so what I did is I actually did that twice now, and I let that cool a little bit, and I'm going to do it one more time. I just covered that with that embossing ink, and then I'm going to cover that one more time with the embossing powder. And it obviously is going to layer up really nicely. And originally when you put your first layer down, you're going to have maybe some little bumps. It may not be super smooth, but the more you do it, the more smooth it becomes. And you're adding layers to it, so it's really nice. It almost looks a little bit like glass. So there is 3 layers. You could do more if you wanted, but there's 3 layers. And then here I'm going to just take some liquid glue on the back of my die cut glitter stock. And I'm not going to put it all over that background. It's really not necessary, but I will put it all around the edges, and I'm going to put it on some key spots in the center just to make sure that if there's spots that it might poke up, that it won't. And then I'll stick that right over the top of my embossed panel, and then kind of set that off to the side. And then here originally I was going to put liquid glue, which I did here, as you can see, on my frame. But then I realized I'm trying to put this over Glitterstock, and while it would work if I had like a few heavy books to set on the side, I didn't have time or didn't really want to wait for that. So I grabbed some 1/8 inch score tape, and I'm just going to put that all around the edge of my frame. And we'll try this for this, round 2. So I'll peel off all of that release paper, and then we'll stick that down, and it'll stick and adhere to the Glitterstock just perfectly. And then it'll flatten out my piece a little bit more. You'll notice that it's curling the more you know, when you emboss an entire panel like that, it's just going to curl. I don't know why it does that, but it does. And there you go. So that's how it looks right now. You can see a little bit of shine behind there. I did have a die cut circle already ready to go, but it was a little too big. That was done with my circle foundation dies, and so I just cut it a little bit smaller. I'm going to stamp my sentiment. Once again, that comes from the Super Sentimental stamp set. And it just says thankful for you, and I'm going to heat emboss that with some Alabaster embossing powder. And then my card base is going to be some Not Your Mama's heavyweight cardstock. Love this stuff. To break up the fibers a little bit, I do score it on both sides because it is definitely a very heavyweight cardstock, which is just perfect for your card bases. And then I'm going to stamp You're Awesome on the inside, just using some Raven Detail ink. Then I'll adhere my panel down to my card front, or my card base. And then we're going to use some foam tape on the Thankful for You. So I'll just put some of the Brutus Monroe foam tape on the back of that. And then we'll adhere this down right to the center. And then as a final bit of embellishment, I am actually going to grab out some Simply White Nuvo drops, and I'll just put a few of those on there. Just a few. And I don't tap these down because that's actually recessed pretty good. So, but there you have it. There is our card. And so honestly, yes, this is for my son and for military kids and any first responder, really. Nurses, doctors, first responders, police, you name it. I applaud you. Thankful for you, and you guys are awesome. So if you liked this video, please hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already done so. And as always, thank you for stopping by, and I will see you very soon in the next video. Bye, everybody.